Hey, I'm Christina.
I'm Catherine.
I'm Lisa.
I'm Amy.
I'm Lauren.
And we're Cimorelli. We are all sisters, ages 22 to 30, and we make original music, covers, and other fun videos, and we upload every single Cimorelli Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. You may be wondering, what is this setup that we're in right now, and why do we all have mics? Well, this is our podcast setup for Season 5, which is on our podcast channel. You can subscribe. Link in the description. It's the Cimorelli podcast. It's an amazing podcast. We focus on personal growth, and it's like sometimes it's fun and wacky and weird, whatever, like we are, and then sometimes it's really deep and focused on personal growth, but that's the main point. We all want to grow. We all want to get better. So today we decided to do our video here to give you a little taste of the podcast, and we're going to be talking about body image. We did a podcast episode on this last season, and you guys loved it. We were like shocked by the response. So we're just going to jump in and we're going to talk about body image and appearance. And we're going to get vulnerable and real with you guys and tell you some of our insecurities and then talk about how we have been working on them and some things that have really helped us.
We wanted to start at the video with a little disclaimer that this video is not meant to criticize or judge anyone. This is just based on our own personal experience with our body types, and our goal is to empower you with this message as we've been trying to empower ourselves because we live in such a toxic culture when it comes to body image, particularly towards women. So that is our goal with this video, and that's the disclaimer.
Okay, first thing is, at what age did you become aware of your body and like how it looked or compared to other girls or women?
I feel like I became aware of my body, however you want to say that, when I was actually like 8 years old. I remember my friend's birthday party. We did like a photo shoot in front of a tarp on a boogie board, like we were surfing. And I remember getting the picture back and being like, oh, why do my hips look like that? I had like major hip dips. And I was like, oh, that's weird. When I was 8.
Whoa.
It was really little.
I would say probably when I was like 12 and I started getting on like social media, then I started noticing a lot of things.
Okay, so I was late on this as I was for many things in life. I don't think I really became aware at all until, well, maybe a little bit when I was like 11 or 12, I think I started to notice. But I think 'cause I was so late in puberty, I just didn't really notice. When I was a teenager, like 14, 15, I really started to notice like me compared to other girls. But it took me a while to realize I was late on that.
I think I was probably 7 or 8 the first time I remember really noticing my body and just kind of feeling like I was chubby and I didn't really think of my body in like a positive way.
Yeah, I think I can't remember the age, but I remember the literal memory. I was like really young, maybe like 6 or 7, somewhere in that vicinity.
Okay.
I don't know. But I was wearing a pink shirt and I just remember looking at my stomach and I was like, it's not flat. What's going on here?
Rip.
Okay, that brings us to the next one, which is, what were some of your biggest insecurities growing up?
My insecurities, at first I remember it was my legs and I was like, oh, once I hit puberty and they started getting bigger, I was freaking out. But as time went by, it was just always changing, just whatever I wasn't. So if I was really skinny in my early 20s, I wanted to be thicker. If I was thicker, I wanted to be skinnier. If I was more fit, I wanted to be curvy. But if I was more curvy, I wanted to be toned or whatever. It was just ever changing.
I would say my crooked fingers were an insecurity for me for a while. And then also like acne, which I still have. That's been really a long journey for me to overcome. And also, like you were saying, like the hip dips, I was always like, what is this? Because it's like, oh, you're supposed to look like a Coke bottle. And I was like, I'm like a Coke bottle with another Coke bottle. What is that?
Yeah. Okay, so I had some weird ones as a kid. I had I still have really small feet. For some reason, I thought that was a horrible thing. I have no idea why. I thought that was horrible. And I thought that green eyes were the ugliest color you could have because songs would only talk about brown and blue. So I was like, okay, they hate green eyes. Too bad I have green eyes. And then I also thought straight hair was horrible. Everyone wanted curly hair. I had stick straight hair. I thought that was horrible. And then the other thing was there was a big campaign of real women have curves that people were saying all the time in the media when I was a teenager. And I was so thin, I thought like, okay, I guess I'm not a real woman because I'm just really skinny. I don't have any curves.
Similar to what Christina said, I was really, really tall and skinny as a teenager, and I thought the same thing, like that to be a woman, you should have curves. And I was like, I guess I'm not a woman because my body is very like straight and narrow. But then as I got to be an older teenager, I started to get more of like a curve, like in my legs and my hips, and I started to gain weight, especially like in my thighs. And I hated that. When it actually started happening, I was like, no, I don't want this. Take it back. And then I started being like, oh, when I was more skinny when I was younger, I could just wear anything and it was always flattering. And now it's like a little bit harder. So I was like kind of similar to Lisa too. Like I always wanted the opposite of what I had.
Okay. So I think my biggest things were just looking different than my sisters who look very different from each other. So I don't know why I put them in one category and me in the other.
Like we're all the same.
You guys look kind of similar, but like other than that, my brain went, they are this, you are this. So I was really insecure about looking short because, well, I am. And everyone was really tall. So I looked like really weird, especially once Danny and Lauren started growing a lot. I was like, I'm this weird short thing in the front, but whatever. Someone's got to do it. And then I didn't like having like, in my perception, a different body type than them, which makes no sense because they all have different body types. So yeah, I didn't like being different than them because they were all the same.
So one thing that really started to change my perspective in this journey was realizing that there are trends when it comes to body image. For instance, I'm 30 years old, so I have lived through some crazy differences in eyebrow trends. Okay, when I was a teenager, the trendiest thing you could do to your eyebrows, well, actually a little younger than teen years, was to have like the skinniest line of an eyebrow. Literally, like people plucked their eyebrows so it was like one line and then they would have like a circle at the front, okay? And then suddenly, that's what I thought, okay, eyebrows, when you're older, like women, they make their eyebrows a line. And then when you get older, that's what you're supposed to do when you get older. But then I got older and then suddenly everyone's like, oh, thick eyebrows. They got to be the thickest eyebrows you've ever seen. Completely different. So depending on what time you're in, your eyebrows were either amazing or horrible and they could have been the same thing. Crazy.
Yeah, this is so weird. I remember this semi-recently how in movies from like, I don't know, 2000 to 2010, the worst insult for a female character would be like, oh, I hope in Bride Wars, I hope your wedding's huge, like your butt at prom. And they're like, oh, how dare she? And now I feel like the worst insult would be like, you have no butt. Your butt's tiny. And people are like, what? How could you say that?
The opposite.
Literally the opposite is a trend. It's so crazy. And whoever has the opposite is feeling left out. But then 10 years later, you might be on trend with just the way that you are.
Yeah, it's weird for me as a millennial because I was born in 1992 and I've literally lived through like two major, maybe even three like body trend shifts. So like when I was a kid, it was like the super, super skinny, like they like runway model trend where it's like just tiny, like really, really, really thin. And then when we got older, it was like, somehow you're really skinny, but then you also have like really voluptuous curves.
In the right places only.
Yeah, which is weird because usually those two things don't exist in one body type. Like usually you're more curvy and
rare.
Just thicker, or like you're really thin. Like but somehow those two things became like the ideal body type at the same time, which is like kind of mind-blowing.
And another thing that can really impact your self-esteem and your body image is your friends and who you're around. I remember being pretty young, like middle school age. And my friend, she said to both of us, I don't know if you remember, she said, you don't know what it's like to be in the triple digits. Because she weighed like 102 pounds or something. And I was like, what?
We were like in middle school.
Yeah, I was like, so that is a bad thing? Okay, so when I get to 100 pounds, that's going to be something that's bad. I didn't think that was bad before, but she kind of told me that, and then I thought it was.
I remember I never really thought to look for the bad things in my body until I was in a group of friends when I was like late middle school to early high school. And I just remember like, it was like almost like a ceremonious thing of like when we were getting ready, like the different girls would like stand in front of the mirrors and like point out the things they didn't like about their bodies. And I remember thinking like, oh, are we supposed to do that? Like, is this a thing that you're supposed to do? Just like stand there and hate your body? Like, it wasn't something that really occurred to me until I saw that happening with my friends.
This is what women do.
Yeah, it just seemed like this is normal. This is what you do.
And the thing that we need to start realizing that the media does not seem to think is okay, but is okay, is that as we age, it's normal for our bodies to grow and change. Your body's not going to be the same at all ages, period.
Yeah, it's really painful, but I think even worse than comparing yourself to another person, it is so painful to compare yourself to how you used to look. And this is so common. Like people say like, oh, when I was a teenager, I was so much thinner. Or like, oh, when I was in my early 20s, I was so much thinner than I am in my later 20s. But the truth is it's really, really, really natural for your body to change. And there's so many different, like this is a scientific fact. Like there's so many different factors that go into metabolism, giving birth to a baby, your genes, hormones, stress, illness. Like there's so many different elements that affect your weight changing, and it is completely normal to not be the same body type your entire life.
That was something that really stressed me out. And it's so weird. It started so young because when I was 8, I was weirded out at my hip dips or whatever. But then when I got to like 15, or no, when I got to like 12, I would look at pictures from when I was 8 and be like, oh no, I was skinnier then. And you don't realize like you're a child who is growing rapidly. Like even year to year, you don't look the same, but you look back and it's like, oh no, I'm supposed to look like that. Because, you know, whatever the most acceptable form of yourself was, that's what you go back to. But it's like, think about that. Like as a 20-year-old, would you be like, I don't look how I did when I was 10? Probably not, because that's a huge range of change from one age to the other. And 20 to 30 and 30 to 40, like it's you're always changing, you know, and you can't hold yourself to the past because that's not how life works. But it's really tempting for some reason. I don't know why that is. We think we're supposed to be stuck in time and just this like frozen wax model.
Because we live in a society that just glorifies youth at all costs. That's why it's like, oh, you should always look this young.
So then that brings me to the next point of where does this come from? Besides like our family and friends kind of putting these things in our heads, where do they get it from? The media. The media is shoving this stuff down our throats from such a young age. You already knew you were supposed to have a flat stomach when you were, how old did you say?
Like 6.
6.
I remember watching Disney Channel and I was like, these girls are all so skinny. I will never be as skinny as them. This is horrible.
And there's nothing
supposed to be.
There's nothing wrong with being skinny, as I was a
Nothing at
very
all.
skinny girl and felt like there's something wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem here is that the media is telling us at different times you have to look this certain way, and it changes all the time, as we said, with the trends. So they are profiting off our insecurities. All these companies telling you, oh, you need to look like this, so you need to buy our product to look like this. And they are not going to make money if we feel good about ourselves and think, oh, I don't need to change how I look. I'm fine how I am right now. So they shove these messages down our throats, making everyone feel not good enough. And it starts at such a young age, which is the scariest part. So we were going to point out some harmful messages and mindsets that are just kind of normal. And then I want to talk to you guys about how you can actually question them and not accept them. Because the thing is, we have accepted all these things as normal, and
It's not normal.
yeah. And
It doesn't have to be.
yeah. And we never stop to think, I actually don't have to accept this. So that's how I want to challenge you guys right now. What are some of the messages?
A big one is cellulite is unacceptable.
Another one, a good, quote, stomach is a perfectly flat stomach.
Also, having like softer or not toned parts of your body is bad. What?
Yeah, and you should never be too pale. That is not okay. You need to tan, and yeah.
So you're not allowed.
Oh, I'm not allowed.
You need to
I need a
tan.
tan. Give me some tan right now.
Unacceptable.
I'm pale. I'm so pale right now.
And also labeling certain body parts with these negative nicknames like muffin top or bat wings or spare tire. It's like, why do you have to call it that? It's just like your stomach. Like,
Your arm.
Yeah, we're at this place. We've talked about all these things so much where we start to realize like we don't want to blindly believe or accept any of these toxic messages. I think we all kind of thought this is normal. This is how it is to be a woman and this is what life is. But now we're realizing we don't have to, you don't have to accept any of these, because who gets to decide that? Who gets to decide what a perfect stomach is, what a perfect body is, what's acceptable? And then why on earth do you have to live by their standards? I don't want to have to live by their standards, by this, I don't know who it is, by this random figure. I don't want that anymore. So
Who
we
decides?
want to encourage you guys to question all these things. Why do they have to be true? They don't. If we all stop accepting them, they're not true collectively anymore. So I think what we really want to do is question our definition or our definitions of pretty, beautiful,
Acceptable.
good enough. Yeah, what's acceptable? What are your definitions, and why and how could you change them to something more healthy? So can you think of an example of like an unhealthy definition of one of those?
An unhealthy thing would be like a beautiful body is like perfectly toned and fit at all times.
Yes, and a lot of people have that definition.
A lot of people have that.
You don't actually have to have that definition.
How
You
about
actually
a
don't.
beautiful body is one that is taken care of and the person feels energetic and healthy and happy and peaceful and not obsessive about weight and diet and exercise.
And an acceptable body is the one that I have. Period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, like, a beautiful person is a person that has a perfect body.
Yes.
Like, that's not right.
Yeah.
That's not right.
Mm-hmm.
Any other definitions you can think of? Oh, can you think of a healthy definition? Well, we kind of
Well, one thing that I really like, I don't remember how this came up, but it was like body neutrality versus body positivity. Because I used to, I feel like when I was a teenager, the whole message was like, love yourself. And like people were trying to combat the negativity by being like, I am so hot. I'm obsessed with myself. It's kind of like this act. And like, you know, that's just going the opposite direction. But I don't want to think about myself all the time. Like, I'm the hottest thing you've ever seen.
To take the
You'll
focus
never
off.
get a chance with me. Yeah, I just don't really want to think about it. Like, instead of being like, I don't have to look beautiful, how about, who cares what I look like? Today I look like crap. I can look like crap. I'm tired. I just want to be a person. I don't even want to be like, I look great today. It's like, I don't look good today. It's okay.
Who cares? Yeah.
It's fine.
Who cares?
Oh, like how about not reducing women to being defined by their bodies? Like having so much emphasis on our bodies and how we look today and blah, blah, blah. Actually, let's talk about what's going on in our brains, our personalities. What are we
Lives.
doing with our lives, our relationships?
Yeah.
How are we helping people today?
Well,
How are we
yeah.
taking care of ourselves?
and it's not your job to just look good for people.
No.
And there's been so many times where, like, I can look in the mirror and be like, wow, I look really good today, but I feel horrible. I have all these problems. My life is not how I want it to be, so it doesn't matter. And we put so much emphasis on this. Like, if I can just look in the mirror and like what I see, then I'll be happy. But that's not what it is.
I think we assign so much meaning to the way our bodies look, but deep down, if you really examine yourself and peel back the layers, you'll probably find that you just want to be loved and accepted.
yes.
That's really what you want. And you don't have to have a quote perfect body to be loved and accepted. You can be loved and accepted exactly as you are with no changes. And chances are you already are. You probably already have many people in your life that love and accept you just as you are. And you can love and accept yourself just as you are. You can make that choice for yourself. You don't need permission from a society that is harsh, cruel, critical, insane, honestly.
Ever changing.
Yeah.
Ever change.
A bunch of trends.
That was something I realized as a like later teenager when I started breaking down all my horrible body image problems and like toxic relationship with food, where I was like, I started to finally face it and be like, okay, what am I feeling? Horrible, crappy, depressed about my everything. And then why am I feeling that way? Like, why is this way that I look, or gaining weight or losing weight, why does this all have so much meaning? And I started to break it down and I was like, oh, I actually just hate myself and I'm trying to figure out a reason why. Okay, maybe it's my legs. Well, now my legs are skinnier. Maybe it's how bony I am. Well, now I gained some weight. Maybe it's because I'm too big. But it's like, I realized I was always just trying to find a reason why I am bad or why I don't deserve to be loved. So it's like, okay, maybe it's just the way I look. But it was more just a vehicle than like, it was a vehicle for my bad feelings, not like the root of them. It wasn't the real problem. And I feel like once I put that together in my head, I was like, oh my gosh, it's not about how I look, because I wanted to lose weight and then I lost weight from like anxiety and I was still very unhappy. And then I gained weight and I was very unhappy. Like my body kept changing, but it didn't fix it. So obviously that's not the real problem, because if it really was, oh, once I look a certain way, I'll be happy, I would have been happy, and I was not.
We often fixate in on and isolate just like one part of our body instead of thinking ourselves as a whole person, body, mind, and soul. It's just like my legs, or my stomach, instead of just me as a whole person.
And it doesn't really make sense because like you're never gonna be like just a foot or like just like a butt. Like you are a whole person. So it's weird that we like compartmentalize ourselves as like body and mind and personality and this and that when it's all one thing, which is us.
And it's actually really like degrading and objectifying to think of yourself as like this body that's like, it's almost like it's for sale. Like you're a salesman of your body. But the truth is like, you're not, you're a human being, and everything in the media and all the, $1 billion corporations that are selling you products will try to make you feel like that. But if you can reshape the way you approach yourself, then that will empower you not to see yourself as like an object.
To add on to what Lauren was saying too, like we think of ourselves as just an elbow or a foot or whatever. But when you meet someone else, even if they have a really pretty face and you're like, wow, they have a pretty face, you wouldn't be like, they're just a face. Like as you talk to them and interact with them, you see them as a whole person. Even if you notice something about them, other people don't do that to you. They're not like, she is just a foot. They see you as a person, whether they like it or not. This is what I always come back to with body image, with like food and exercise. If it's not enjoyable on some level, what is the point? Like, I can't comprehend, being on a diet constantly and doing these crazy workouts to like punish yourself. It's supposed to be, right? Your brain's thinking, oh, once I do this, I'll be happy. But if the entire process of getting there makes you miserable, when are you going to be happy? Like you're wasting months and years trying to get there. And this is the metaphor I always use. You end up being like you're wearing a white outfit at a paint party where everyone's throwing paint everywhere, and you're like, I can't eat that, I can't do that. You're like dodging blows and I can't pose like that in a picture, and you're thinking about it all the time. But life is a paint party, you need to be able to just have fun and be free. Like, oh my gosh, you had 5 s'mores at your campfire. Talking to myself, who cares? Like, don't do that every day for every meal. That's not very healthy. But like once in a while, who cares? Like, life is a paint party. You just need to be free and, get your body moving in a healthy, fun way that you like. Figure out what works for you that makes you happy, because that's the point. Why would we exercise and eat food to be miserable? No one says, oh, I'm doing this to make myself miserable, but that's what we're doing.
True.
Yeah. Life is too short not to eat the cookie and to wake up at 4 a.m. to work out when you really don't want to. Just
unless you want to.
Skip. Well, I said when you don't want to.
If you don't want to.
Skip.
I mean, I like early mornings.
Yeah.
If you like early morning.
do it.
I actually think it feels
but don't
great.
force yourself. Like there's literally too short.
Okay, so some final tips for you guys that are groundbreaking for us are, number 1, remember, you are not here to perform and to be this product that is to be sold to people. We're here to become the best people that we can become and to create relationships with others, to love ourselves, to love other people, to create amazing things in this world, not perform and be a product. So we need to stop this comparison. How can we stop this comparison? First, realize there are different body types. That was huge for me. There are different body types. Some people gain more weight in their legs and never in their stomach. Some people gain all their weight in their stomach. Some people gain it all over. There are different body types. Look into that. That will be life-changing. I remember I read this book. My friend got me this fitness book with workouts for your body type. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. In the beginning of the book, it was written by a personal trainer. And she said that she was training these 2 women. And the one woman said, oh, I just hate how I'm so thin. I feel like I have no curves. I really want to create like a curvy body. And the other woman had this curvy body. And she said, I just really want to get rid of my curves and become super like stick straight like. And then she mentioned an actress who looked like her other client who was really thin and wanted to be curvy. The 2 women wanted to look like each other. They both thought their body type was unacceptable and the other person's was acceptable. When I read that, I realized, oh my gosh, it's not their body, it's their mind that's the problem here. If one person is capable of thinking that this body type is acceptable that you already have, then why can't you think that the body type you have is acceptable. And that was something that changed my whole life.
If someone else wants to look like you, which I guarantee someone in the world is out there wanting to look like you right now, even if you don't believe that, why can't you be the person who wants to look like you?
True. Because I think we inflict a lot of pain on ourselves, especially through our social media, like Instagram. If you're following people that make you feel bad about yourself because of how they portray themselves on Instagram or just how their natural body type is, you need to socially distance yourself and unfollow them or mute them. Just do an experiment.
You don't have to hate them. Just unfollow.
And it's okay.
Something that's really helpful for me is talking to myself about my body and my relationship with fitness, food, weight, as if I am a caretaker of a child that I'm taking care of. So trying to be gentle and not saying anything to myself that I wouldn't say to a kid that I was taking care of. That's completely changed the way I talk to myself and view my body image.
Oh, a simple thing that I started doing is stop looking in the mirror so much.
Yes.
Like, just stop. With the body neutrality thing Lisa was talking about, like, okay, look at your outfit. Is it good? Cool. You don't have to do, like, a 360 view with a microscope.
You're right.
No, just
You're
cool.
right.
Okay, there's no food on my face. Next. Goodbye, mirror.
I love that. The bottom line here is we were conditioned to believe these lies about our bodies and ourselves, and we can choose not to believe them anymore. We can put the power back in our hands and condition ourselves to believe something different because we weren't born believing this. It's not going to be the easiest thing in the world. I'm not saying it's easy at all. It's definitely incredibly hard, but it's definitely worth it. Thank you guys for watching. And well, we have the question of the week coming up, but I just want to say, if you like this, check out our podcast. We cover so many topics. Guys, go check out our podcast channel. Link in the description, the Cimorelli podcast. Go look at the episodes. We talk about so many interesting things on there. You should definitely check it out. But I think it's time to I think you can announce it. I think it's time for Catherine. To announce.
It's time for Question of the Week. So every week we ask you guys to ask us a question on social media. And this week our question comes from Patreon, which if you're not a patron, we would love for you to join our Patreon where you can get extra podcast episodes every month. So this question is from Lee, and they said, what is your favorite way to treat yourself?
Easy. I go to Publix and I go to their bakery section and I get a slice of tiramisu. Years I've been doing this. Just kidding. Probably since the beginning of the year I've been doing this.
Wait, is this about food?
No,
Anything.
No, it's just like anything.
That is how I treat
Something
myself.
that's a treat for you.
My treat is buying $7 ice cream from a grocery store.
Is this a single serve?
It's really good. It's a pint for $7.
Oh, wow.
So good.
Okay. I guess this is the same answer I would give before having a child, but especially now, the best way to treat myself is taking a relaxing shower, which is like my one alone time of the day. It's a little shorter than it was before, but I make it a whole experience, and that's my best way of relaxing and just chilling out. Maybe I'll start with a walk first. That will come eventually.
I like to find really cool recipes and try them out with my husband. That is one of my favorite ways to treat myself.
That's treating yourself?
Treating is a lot of labor.
Treating myself to a nice meal.
Okay.
I would say going swimming at night. But then also
In the winter?
anytime. And then my second,
the winter.
one of my other favorite ways is canceling plans that I don't want to do.
That is a real treat. That's treating.
You treated yourself in that moment.
You did.
You swiped your
You
black
retreated.
card. You're like, I'm rich.
I can't. I gotta go. Unavailable. Don't
All right.
know. Booked and busy. Make sure you click subscribe and join the Sim Fam. We are a positive community and we're focused on personal growth and really just trying to be the best people we can be. We love to have a laugh. We love to grow together. And we would really love to have you here if you want to come. So click subscribe and join the Sim Fam.
And make sure you follow us on Spotify. We post new covers and originals all the time. We have like literally hundreds of songs there.
Thanks for watching. We love the Sim Fam.